In 2014, China began constructing military islands in the South China Sea, located within the border of other countries, as part of its plan to attack 5 countries simultaneously. These artificial islands included ports, air bases, and anti-aircraft weapons, all prepared for potential warfare. Within 2 years, China has built a total of 7 islands without the permission of the countries whose borders they were encroaching upon. The creation of these islands and China's disregard for the sovereignty of other nations is a significant reason why experts from the US military believe that the South China Sea has the potential to be the catalyst for World War III. This video will explore why the South China Sea is vital to the world and why China is willing to risk a global conflict to control these parts of the sea. Prior to delving into why China is willing to engage in a conflict with multiple countries over the South China Sea, it is crucial to understand the significance of this area. The South China Sea is a marginal sea within the Pacific Ocean and is bordered by several countries including South China, the Philippines, Vietnam, Thailand, Taiwan, Malaysia, and Indonesia. This area is home to approximately 28 billion barrels of oil reserves, 266 trillion cubic feet of natural gas, and hosts 1/3 of the world's marine biodiversity, making it a crucial area for the ecosystem despite the rapid depletion of fish stocks. In addition to the reasons mentioned previously, the South China Sea is also a vital trade route. With approximately $3.37 trillion worth of global trade passing through this region annually as of 2019. The Strait of Malacca and the South China Sea serves as the primary routes to and from ports in the Pacific and Indian Oceans. Typically, oil and minerals move in a northerly direction, while food and manufactured goods move south. China relies heavily on oil imports to power its economy and industries. Approximately 50% of Chinese oil imports originate from the Middle East and are transported through the South China Sea. Additionally, China is a global manufacturing hub, and a significant portion of its economic growth is fueled by exporting manufactured goods to other countries. Many of these exports pass through the South China Sea to reach markets around the world. It is evident that the South China Sea holds significant importance to China. However, this does not necessarily imply that China has a rightful claim to the region. To understand this, we must examine the international law that governs the control of oceanic areas. The Law of the Sea, which was signed into a UN convention in 1982, states that each country's sovereign territorial waters extend up to a maximum of 12 nautical miles, or approximately 22 kilometers beyond its coast. Beyond this zone, foreign vehicles are granted the right of innocent passage. Additionally, every coastal country has the right to establish an exclusive economic zone, or EEZ, which extends up to 200 nautical miles or approximately 370 kilometers from its shore. It is important to note that within the EEZ, the coastal state has the right to regulate and exploit fisheries, construct artificial islands and installations, and utilize the zone for other economic activities. All countries, including China, recognize the law. In fact, every country has claimed its part of the South China Sea up to 200 nautical miles from their respective coasts, resulting in some overlaps in Vietnamese, Malaysian, Brunei, and Filipino claims. However, there is less focus on these overlaps as all these countries are united in their opposition to China's claim in their region. When it comes to the South China Sea, China refuses to abide by the law of the sea and instead follows its own self-proclaimed 9-dash line to assert its territorial claims. This line encompasses almost 90% of the South China Sea, with the CCP claiming that the entire area falls under Chinese territory. The justification for this claim is based on the premise that a Chinese explorer discovered the region, and therefore it belongs to China. This has resulted in confrontational situations with other countries in the region. It is worth noting that there are no existing laws or international agreements that support China's claim to the South China Sea under the 9-dash line. In an attempt to assert their sovereignty over the South China Sea, several countries in the conflict have officially renamed the regions they claim. For instance, in September 2012, the Philippine president signed an administrative order requiring all government agencies to refer to the parts of the South China Sea within the Philippines as the West Philippine Sea. Similarly, in 2017, Indonesia renamed the northern part of its exclusive economic zone in the South China Sea as the North Natuna Sea to assert its sovereignty over the area. As the tensions over the South China Sea continued, China started constructing its own islands in the area. These were not just any ordinary islands, but military bases that included personnel, airstrips, and missile systems. The construction of these islands went against international law as they were built within the Philippines border. In 2016, the Philippines decided to take China to the United Nations Court over this issue. And in the ruling that followed, The Hague favored the Philippines, stating that China has encroached on their land. However, China chose to ignore the ruling, as it has not been implemented yet. Adding to the tensions, the CCP declared the airspace above the disrupted territory a defensive air identification zone and required any aircraft flying through it to obtain Chinese permission. Although the CCP insists that this measure is for defense purposes only, it has created further strain between China and other countries in the region, especially the Philippines. In addition to the ruling on the Philippines' case against China, there was another significant aspect that added to the conflict. The Spratly Islands, located in the middle of the South China Sea, are being claimed by all the countries involved in the dispute, as claiming these islands can extend their exclusive economic zone or EEZ and increase their control over the region. However, a 2016 ruling declared the Spratly Islands as rocks, which means they do not extend any country's EEZ. This ruling further complicated the situation as it removed the potential for expanding territorial claims by exploiting the islands. Despite the 2016 ruling that the Spratly Islands do not extend any country's exclusive economic zone or EEZ, the conflict over these islands did not subside. China has been using the cabbage or salami slicing strategy to disrupt supplies to foreign islands, which involves surrounding foreign-controlled islands with Chinese ships and destroyers to deny access to rival nations and subsequently claim the islands. The United States, with its strong navy, plays a crucial role in maintaining the peace at sea so that world trade can continue uninterrupted. To keep peace in the South China Sea, where China has been aggressive, the US Navy has increased its presence in the region, given that the US has many allies in this conflict, and that's where this clip is from. The United States' presence in the South China Sea is critical due to Beijing's claim to historical rights in the area within the Nine Dash Line, which poses a threat to the US's long-standing commitment to the freedom of the seas. This commitment is essential in ensuring American prosperity, security, and stabilizing international commerce while mitigating naval tensions and ensuring equitable access to resources. If China succeeds in undermining the UN's law of the sea, it raises concerns about whether China would follow other laws, and it sets a precedent for other countries to do the same and claim territory while disregarding international laws. The tensions between the US and China have been escalating due to China's actions in the South China Sea. Even though there was a temporary calm during the pandemic, China's activities are resuming and they are going back on their promises. In 2011, China, Brunei, Malaysia, the Philippines, Taiwan, and Vietnam reached an argument on preliminary guidelines to resolve disputes in the South China Sea, following the spirit of the Declaration on the Conduct of Parties in the South China Sea. They were supposed to implement these guidelines, and China and ASEAN countries worked together to advance consultations on the Code of Conduct, or COC, in the South China Sea. It was predicted that the COC would be finished by 2021. It is evident that the timeline for resolving disputes in the South China Sea has not materialized as planned. However, the Code of Conduct has played a crucial role in maintaining peace in the region. One of the rules of the COC is that no country can build on unoccupied reefs. Unfortunately, a Bloomberg report from last December suggests that China has declared to disregard the COC. According to a report Fishing fleets, acting as maritime militias under the control of Beijing, have engaged in construction at 4 unoccupied features in the South China Sea. The report further states that new land formations have appeared above water at El Dad Reef in the northern Spratly Islands in the past year, as evidenced by images depicting large holes, debris piles, and excavator tracks at a previously partially submerged site. The construction activities carried out by the Chinese fishing fleets under the control of Beijing authorities on unoccupied features have raised concerns about China's intentions for the future, which is not good for world peace. As a result, other nations in the region have increased their defense spending. While it's unclear what China's plans are, any updates on this topic will be covered in a future video right here on this channel. What do you think? What is China preparing for? Comment your thoughts below. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications to stay up to date with our latest uploads.